Okay, part two. Let's start with the Instagram story. The culture of whiteness runs on these three big lies. I was coaching earlier today, and a healing practitioner told me I can't just express anger in front of a client. And suddenly I could see it so clearly. That's what white culture right there. That's white culture right there. That's the whole thing in one sentence. Because here's what I'm seeing. The culture of whiteness runs on interpreting powerful emotions as disorder, boundaries as threats, and decentering as erasure. It does this through a triple move every single time, controlling the narrative, manufacturing innocence, and gaslighting you into questioning your own reality. And when I say white culture, I don't mean every person of European ancestry or only them. I mean those who've been conditioned into a culture of white supremacy. That includes many people of color. This crosses racial lines because it's the culture, not the melanin. And the first line in the culture of whiteness, painful emotions become disordered and unevolved. Why can't a therapist express anger? Why do my clients apologize to me every single time they cry in a coaching session, even when I tell them that their tears are safe with me? That's because white culture equates emotional suppression with moral and spiritual superiority. Anger, frustration, and grief, the very emotions that, when embraced, witnessed, and processed, fuel change and healing, become proof of your instability, your unprofessionalism, your inability to pull it together. Let me explain something to you. The culture of whiteness, which is constructed in a modern phenomenon, was created by Anglo Christianity. And I do have a um, link that talks about how Christianity was stolen from Africa. If you could just do it in a search engine, that's where they got the idea. I'm sure you could find it. Because I'm not going to look for it right this second. I can always post it later. Raw, emotionally alive Christianity is dangerous to power. When people feel the full force of righteous anger about injustice, when they experience communal grief over suffering, when they connect with a God who liberates the oppressed, that threatens the entire imperial project. So Anglo Christianity had to be domesticated to serve empire instead of challenging it. They needed a version of Christianity that would make colonized people accept their suffering as God's will, and their workers endure exploitation with acceptance. The emotional neutering wasn't accidental, it was strategic and necessary because emotions are what move people to action. Anger mobilizes resistance, grief creates solidarity. They took a religion born of revolutionary subversion. Remember, Jesus was so threatening to the religious and political authorities that the Roman Emperor had to execute him and all his disciples and turned it into a system of emotional management and social control. It was emotional management and social control, which is what white people do to each other and everyone else. That they intentionally spread ill will and misery. So Jesus, in the most spiritual, accurate way to put it, is actually Pablo Escobar. But instead of him unaliving the government, he should have got them to do the drugs with him and everybody else. And then that would have eliminated all the tribal mentality, fear, white culture, English manipulation, religious manipulation, yada, 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 all that stuff. And the world would have been healed. But since there was no internet then, and I don't know how studious Pablo was. I know he went to college and dropped out at some point because he saw a different path. But he's a reminder that the light is the plants themselves, because any religion that's ever been made has come from plants, hallucinogenic or not. Even the concept of God. So that means God is open to interpretation, because when the internet was born, God became whatever anyone felt like saying about it at any given time and place, forever. The Eve and forever. See, words within words that manipulate the reality of what's being said. Or eternity, turn like a bird. Or infinite, like fin, like a fish. Or a shark. Or a turtle. Anyways, the second line in white culture, boundaries become threats. Here's what a boundary actually looks like. If you do X, I will respond doing Y. It is not you can't do this or you should do that or you're terrible for doing Z. It's about what you will do, not controlling them but protecting your own spaces. But in white culture, they can't tell the difference. When you say if you keep interrupting me, I'm ending this conversation, they feel like they're being censored. When you say if you leave a bad fake comment, I will delete it, they take it as a threat. Here's why this is happening. White culture is built on the expectation of unlimited access. They believe they have the right to your attention, your energy, your space, your platform without limits on their terms. So when you say, I will limit your access to me, they hear, I'm taking something away that belongs to me. Your boundary isn't just inconvenient for them, it feels like theft. This is why they respond as if you committed violence against them, because in their framework you have. You've taken something they felt entitled to. And theft is kind of a weird concept because, like, if it's an object, an artifact, a man-made object, man is gender neutral, by the way, um, then once it's made, you don't own it. Because if someone can come and take it from you, then how did you ever own it? Same thing with ideas. If once you put an idea out there, anyone can do whatever they want with it. You don't own it. The only thing we truly own is the ability to listen to our heart and our soul that determine the flow of all our survival. Look up neurocardiology about how the heart can process, learn, and remember. And there's a very large magnetic field, more powerful than the brain in our heads, because it's like a sophisticated information processing system. It's super interesting. And look up Glorious Dawn by Carl Sagan that explain how the brain works. And I'll just give you a tidbit from that. The number one means many things. You see me, what you're seeing is everyone I've been talking to recently, everyone I've ever talked to, all my ancestors from Europe, Africa, Arab, Jewish, Latino, Spanish, and indigenous, the Muisca tribe, and Mesoamerican. And here's something for an obscure thought that makes me what I'm not, the Buddha. Because life is a role play, and you get to play any role you want if you have the grit and the street cred and the raw direct experience to back it up. So that means my how to put this my heart goes out to those that have suffered the most. So besides the earth itself, from all the horrible things we've done to it, through the 2,056 nukes we sent to it, all the power we're drawing from it, which is the equivalent of 1,500 nukes daily, and then all the crappy ways people still think it's okay to be intentionally miserable or spread ill will. And then there's also all the pollution too. And since we shared this experience with literally everything, especially the universe, so to add another layer to that, anyone that has ever said anything about the earth or the universe being passive and not alive and not caring, or anything negative and toxic and cold and distant, is completely wrong and has no idea what they're talking about and should never be taken seriously again until they apologize to the earth and the universe. Because when you give your soul to your creator, the true creator, the one in your heart, and to me, in the Muisca tribe I'm from, in the heart of the world in Colombia, or hearth of the world, because the heart is really the hearth, because we share this experience with everything in the universe and such. So why not both universe and our universe or hearth, whatever. Let's keep this rolling. Too much pleasure. Hold on. Maybe not go that far. I'll try and keep it simple. I get caught up in the excitement of explaining the things the world needs to know. Anyways, I'll just go back to this. Here's why this is happening. Yeah, we can only possess a choice whether we listen to the truth, reality, or not. Whether someone's speaking or nature is reminding us through the environment. Because there's the language of environment science that nature guided me to while I was doing Vipassana meditation. It's the reality that we only exist because of the environment. So any idea that does not ultimately give credit to the environment, whether it's spelled with Ron or men or I with I's replacing the E's and the word Ron, so environment, however you want to put it, it's words within words that manipulate language, but neutralizing the feeling of the thought. It's wrong. It's patently wrong. Like I said in the other video or this one, I'm just free flowing. I've been up all day working on developing the reality that I need to communicate to everybody. Because when you're aware of everything wrong with everything, it's easy to get lost in the sauce when you put a lot of information out there already, and you just good art takes time. It takes time. Or bad art is still good art if it's done. That's the essence of art, is that it's done no matter what the quality is. All right, I'll continue. Third lie, in the culture of whiteness, decentering becomes erasure. Whiteness and white norms are the default, the virtuous, the moral standard. Create a space that doesn't center whiteness and you're being reverse racist. Have conversations that don't prioritize their perspective and you're being hateful. Build community that doesn't revolve around their comfort and you're divisive. And add a layer to that, there's a metal band called Between the Buried and Me, and they say, in their song off The Great Misdirect, to find truth, to find reason, this is what we call a brain. A culture that exists to uphold and justify empire cannot imagine shared space. They cannot conceive of a world where they are not at the center, but still exist in our value. So for them, their version of fair is when everyone comes together around them. Being loving means they get access to whatever they want, whenever they want. This is just imperial logic which projects their thirst for dominance onto everyone else. White culture has distinct patterns because it has a distinct goal, control. Once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. But that's the thing about control. You have it as much as you don't. Because at some point, in some way, you're going to need to eat. You can't control that. I mean, you can fast for long periods and heal your body through aphagy if you've been through a lot of damage, especially from drugs that were forced on you from an industry that's killing us all because it's rooted in Nazi eugenics ideologies from Francis Galton. And like anyone like him that had done bad things, they just didn't know any better at the time because they had no internet or good access to psychedelics or herbalism or anything from the East or indigenous wisdom or awareness about anything or good modern Western art like its music and some of its philosophies. Because we're always feeling our way to survival when the collective truth of reality isn't completely communicated yet. Anyways, once you can't unsee them, you can start building something different. Something that reconnects us to our roots and the tradition that tried to erase us. Where anger can be prophecy, grief is medicine, and dissent opens the door to divinity. And that's the end of that Instagram reel by Simone. Oh, wow. So one of my ancestors is Simone Bolivar and his various other names. I have a limited capacity to memorize new information, like names specifically, because there's so much to be aware of, like everything going wrong with everything. But I'll get her name properly so you can look up the rest of her Instagram. Simone, SIMONE.grace.SEOL. Because another South Korean, Byung-Chul Han, talks about burnout society where the toxicness of the mental health industry and its pathological language that's like a virus is like an infarction in the brain, which means a stemming of the blood flow to an artery. Ugh. Fuck. Friggin' it's just old white culture that's just wreaking havoc on the world that needs to be recognized because there are only solutions now forever. We have infinite self-reflection with the internet. There's no more excuses. Worship of the written word. In this series, I'm exploring the influence of white supremacy culture, tech, and broadly professional culture, following Kenneth Jones and Timo Ukun's list of characteristics as a guide. Here's the introduction to the full series so far. I'm just going to show you the link because I have no energy to write out, speak everything that is wrong with white culture because there's a lot of writing on it that needs to be made public immediately, and I'm really in the seriousness of this now. So let me find the link. Okay, I'm just gonna film it, and you can type it hand by hand or both because this needs to be understood by everybody.